Almost every Amazon candidate these days needs to take the Amazon work style test in order to proceed in his or her hiring process. Understanding this test beforehand can be crucial to passing it. Hi, I'm Shlomik from Job Test Prep, and in this video I'll explain why Amazon is so obsessed with this tricky personality test and how it relates to their famous leadership principles. Furthermore, I'll show you basic tips you can easily use to your advantage to pass this test and join one of the most well-known companies in the forefront of technology today. Let's get to it. To understand Amazon's work style test, we first need to talk about the differences between this custom-made test and other more common personality tests. On a normal personality test, you're required to rate how much you agree with a statement that concerns your character on a given scale, usually 1 to 5, while the middle option, 3 in this case, indicates neutrality or ambiguity. On the Amazon work style test, the middle option becomes unavailable. This is a new style of personality test that forces you to make a choice that is not neutral. This aspect of no neutrality, believe it or not, is a good thing. Secondly, another statement is added to the mix, mostly related to the first one. This aspect of the test is what makes questions just a bit trickier. Sometimes one statement will be positive and one negative, which is easier to navigate. But sometimes you'll face 2 positive or 2 negative statements, and will have to choose which one resembles your work style more. In that case, you can easily fall into the biggest misconception about personality tests. There are no wrong or right answers. If that is true, then why are you required to take this test anyway? The truth is that there are right answers. Amazon is looking for certain qualities in its employees, and it's in your advantage to try and understand what goes on behind the scenes. So before we answer this question, let's do just that. Amazon as a company is very proud of its work culture and the values it holds, or in other words, their famous leadership principles. These principles pretty much stand as a moral compass to the average Amazonian. The company expects its employees to follow these principles as guidelines. Amazon even goes further than that. It makes sure to recruit employees that already possess this attitude. Their way of doing it? You guessed it, the Amazon Work Style Assessment. So let's look at the question once again. Okay, so at first you might think that both statements are pretty much equally good. Now let's try to look at these leadership principles I just mentioned. And by the way, I added a link in the description below to the Amazon Principles page so you can pause the video and try for yourself. Let's ask ourselves, which principles do both statements have in common? Well, I'd suggest principle number 8, think big. To quickly sum this up, Amazon workers are optimistic in nature and aren't easily fazed by hardships in the workspace. They find ways to overcome difficulties and don't spend time dwelling on problems. So, which of these statements reflects this principle more? It seems like it's this one. And why most like me and not more like me? Well, this is a general statement, which is not as extreme as, say, I never worry about any challenges, which requires more caution. In that case, I would suggest using the more like me option. Okay, so first rule of thumb, which is very important, is that your personality has to make sense as a whole. That means that you need to try to be consistent with your answers. For example, if sometimes you come off as a team player and sometimes as a lone wolf, that raises a red flag. Second tip is, it's about work. The sole purpose of work style questions is to assess how you would behave at work. Your future on-the-job behavior is the only thing that interests recruiters. When you answer these questions, try to imagine that these statements depict situations in the workplace, not in your personal life. Okay, last one. Learn Amazon's leadership principles by heart. If this doesn't surprise you at this point of this video, that's great. But still, I'll emphasize again. It is of utmost importance to be very familiar with the values before you open the assessment invitation. And it goes even further than that. Understanding these principles is not just important for this test, but also for the interview and the Amazon work simulation that follow in many Amazon recruitment rounds. Okay, so our time's up. For more details about this assessment or any other Amazon assessment, including the Amazon Work Simulation, check the links in the description below. We even have a quick work style assessment course with more questions, tips, and detailed answers. Until then, good luck in your path to become an Amazonian.